One of the stats that we've seen the least of is called break attack. Break attack is listed with two descriptions: the power to damage enemy equipment, improves the strength, and the ability to reduce opponent's equipment durability. It would seem that one of the bigger threats of fighting a strength build is that they could break your weapons, shields, or armor. This could have a lot of gameplay implications. Repair costs for gear could force players to be a bit more choosy about what they have equipped at a given time. If it does indeed turn out that it's much easier to break weapons than in previous Souls games, then it could be much more important to have multiple viable weapons at the ready. When discussing this with Peep, he brought up a good point. Players can no longer drop items for each other. This would mean that, outside of certain purchasable weapons, going into New Game Plus might be the only way to acquire a second copy of a player's favorite weapon. Otherwise, a player would have to switch to weapons that they're less comfortable with when traveling to the next area where they can repair their equipment. If there's no equivalent to a repair box, and assuming that the player isn't well stocked with some variation of repair powders, they might have to backtrack quite a bit in order to repair their equipment. If that's indeed the case, then I'm much more interested in seeing whether there's any sort of repair spell. With the ease of repairing in Dark Souls, the repair spell was very seldom used. In fact, I can't think of a single time where I actually considered using it, outside of perhaps to experiment and see whether the spell worked at all. However, if it's the only method of repairing damaged equipment on the fly, it would suddenly become much more valuable, perhaps even as much a staple as Soul Arrow for melee-focused builds with enough intelligence to use it.